Good morning. As some of you know, I'm a morning person usually. However, today I started the day off by slipping on the deck of my boat, ricocheting on my butt off the other deck. So I slipped off the roof, hit my butt off the deck, hit my butt off the dinghy, and then fell into the ocean. And I was just recovering from that when the wind really started picking up. Now we're looking at about 50 knots on and off, blowing the boat around pretty good. And it's already knocked Mike's blues loose. So I just got back from securing it to a dock without him outboard or anything. So that was challenging. And then just when I got it tied up, Vern's boat snapped its mooring line. His old boat, Huffin' Puffin', which still hasn't sold. So we got it back onto a mooring before she could hit the rocks. And we looked out and there's another boat out there on the reef. So it's been a morning, guys, let me tell you. But we're not gonna let this storm stop us. We're gonna get right back to work. I am going to try to work and be limber because I'm very sore from hitting every part of my body, especially my butt on the way down. Very sore. I should wear a helmet when I work on this boat. Alright, well, all of that stuff has cured outside. It's next day. Still too early this morning for me to get out there and start sanding and fairing just yet, and I'm not sure what the weather is going to do today. The forecast guys are notoriously bad in this area. It's the islands, it's the mountains, it's hard to predict what's going to happen. But we are getting a southeast wind, so the sailor in me says that's warm weather, that's cloud, and potentially rain. So that means I am going to be working inside this morning, and I really wanted to dive into the electronics chest in the port side aft section there because it's been neglected pretty much all summer long because I've been outside working. So let's dive into that, and I'll show you the hole I've dug myself in and how I'm going to dig myself out. Alright, so it's a bit of a mess back here, but this is the Connext SW4048. This is the really overpriced inverter I bought. As for my review, which I've shared with you guys a few times, it's not worth the money. This unit, I bought it because of the different voltages in lithium ion. I thought that was going to be a big problem, and I needed something that is more controllable on voltages. It is a big problem, and it is something I need controllable with the different voltages, and it is something that Schneider assured me that their box could do, and it is something that it definitely cannot. So yes, it's great if you have lead acid batteries, but if you're in the 21st century, this thing is a $2,500 piece of garbage. So, that being said, I'm stuck with it for now. Its resale value is not great. I've made a mistake, among many, and this is just, I can't do anything about this. I can do something about where it's placed, because it's taking up a lot of space. If you look down here, there's a cover panel, which is no longer there. Cover panel, but that's only a Siemens 4-breaker solution. And being that my boat is electric, and I have electric water heaters and electric water pumps, and I have electric induction cooktops and stoves and all that, it's not going to be quite enough. So what I bought was this Siemens 16 spot breaker box with a main breaker here. Unfortunately for my setup, when I bought this on Amazon, they said that this thing was only 16 inches tall. So I bought it, and as you can see, it's almost 3 feet tall. So guess that's just something that, you know, got to deal with now. And I could send it back, but I haven't found another solution that's as compact. So I think if I do a little reorganization, I'll be able to make it work. And I mean, more space will be a lot nicer to work with once I'm doing the wiring. Which, by the way, let's talk a little bit about the wiring. I was wiring entirely with this yellow cable. These are 30 amp marine extension cables that you can get used off of Craigslist for not too much money, pretty regularly. And I was using these, but for the same amount of waterproofness and everything else, you can get these little 14 gauge stranded, double, triple insulated setups. So, and these are actually less money in the long run, a lot easier to run, and these are what you should properly be running in an RV or any kind of portable home situation, because they're vibration resistant. These are also vibration resistant, that they're just really chunky and hard to work with. So I'm deciding I'm going to scrap all my yellow wire, switch everything over to this black stuff, get the new breaker box, and deal with this situation. First thing we gotta do is take everything out.
Whenever I'm with you, each day, I wanna sing this song just to tell you that I'm in love with you. The point blanket on the beach, cool wind is blowing off the summer heat. Tofino's just as good as Mexico. Strawberry moon is smiling 'cause he knows that, babe, you know there's nothing.
Alright, we're doing a little dry fit over there. Let me show you what we've got so far. First of all, I got the 2 coats of primer. Is this 1 or 2 coats of white paint, and then well, it'll be another coat anyway because I put a footprint right in the middle of it, so we'll get to that in a minute. But I thought I'd do a dry fit, and so far so good. If I fit the inverter in here sideways, it has very minimal controls, just 2 buttons and 3 lights. Pretty basic stuff, but it gives me enough room to put my entire giant 16 spot breaker box. Now, one thing I wish I had known ahead of time is that there are breakers. I've got 2 20 amp breakers here, and they take up just 1 spot. So that means I could have put a much smaller breaker box in here. But, you know, live and learn. Now I'm going to share a quick crash course about this because it took me a little while to wrap my head around it. There are different forms of AC electronics. When you're getting it out of an inverter, there's single phase and there's 3 phase. But then there's also something called split phase. Now, split phase is what I've got. Split phase is just 2 single phases that are oscillating just 90 degrees off from one another. And so 2 live single phase 110 circuits, you get 220 single phase. So what that means is that I've got 4 wires coming out of my inverter. Now, to anyone who's done home electronics before, you'll notice we have our green, that's a ground, very normal. You have your white neutral right here, and you have your live right here. But then you have this 3rd wire, and that's a second live. So both of these lives run off the same neutral and the same ground, okay? So all I'm gonna do when I come into this box, I'm gonna put a live on this terminal, a live on that terminal, a neutral on this terminal, and finally a ground right here in the box itself. And then every time I connect one of these circuits, if I connect just a single spot here, then it'll be 110. But if I connect 2 of these, it'll bridge the gap between these 2 and give me 220. And that is what I need to run some heavier electronics down the road. So let's get to wiring.
door. Just have to understand where the feelings go. Know what I gotta do now, here all alone. I'm clearing out the ashes, I'll start another fire. I'm striking all the matches, watch the flames go high. I'm clearing out the ashes, I'll start another fire. I'm taking my chances, walking on the wire.
All right, well, I'm not done, but the groundwork has been laid. It is pretty exciting to have a proper panel box in here. I only have 2 circuits active right now, and that is the berths on the port side are all active, and then one of the counter outlets is active so I can cook dinner. But yeah, we're slowly getting everything else in and try and get the outlets inside all done, and then I gotta worry about the external stuff. So I have those 110 AC floodlights and a couple other 110 AC hookups outside, and then I want a 220 AC hookup outside as well, so that I could maybe solder weld one day. So yeah, wow. And then we got to worry about all the inputs and how to wire those up, because I want to be able to charge this boat on every possible circuit. So that will be fun as well. Anyways, in the meantime, I'm going to take a little break from this and jump into something that doesn't involve cramped quarters.
Top of a cloud, tries to read by the starlight. You can hear her laugh out loud. She says she's a red fruit, ripened, ready to fall to the ground. So tiptoe softly, try not to make a sound. And she's singing, shine that light on me. One love, one family is where I will always be. Darkness fell and the night owl flew, not knowing what to do, but watch as the stars shine.
All right, well, the sunshine is out a big time. We got some glass done up at the front. The electrical kind of got sorted out late last night, and guess who joined us late last night?
It's a Melly!
It's 100% pure Melly saturation right now. We're at peak Melly levels.
I'm high on German rap music
And Chinese rap music,
Chinese
and
rap.
Swedish
and Swedish rap.
rap.
Love it all.
It's all Chinese to me. We're gonna go catch up with Trevor right now and bring him a little snack, because the guy's working hard. About damn time. And soon we'll be sailing his little boat Karen down to Victoria, so he's going and getting it ready. So we're gonna go hang out with him a little bit.
There's a little red dot on this film. Hello? Anybody home? Thanks, Simon.
Hanging out with the vegan crew today. It's surprising, since I came out here to the West Coast, I actually don't have any omnivorous friends.
Oh, really?
Everyone's vegetarian or vegan, everyone my age. Anyway, so I'm the only omnivore, but the great thing about being an omnivore is you can eat vegan food too.
Yeah.
You're fully capable of it. So I made a tempeh buffalo wrap using tempeh, which is, what is tempeh, by the way?
Wheat.
It's soy wheat, isn't it?
Wheat?
Fermented soy.
Fermented soy.
Oh,
It's soy.
wheat based.
No, it's a soy-based, like, anyway.
I'm pretty sure you can make tempeh out of different things, but traditionally it's made out of soy. But I've seen it made out of chickpeas as well too.
I lightly battered it in panko and deep fried it, then baked it,
Yeah.
then coated it in hot sauce and put it into a wrap. It's pretty damn good.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good.
Really, as long as it's crispy and carries hot sauce, I don't really care what it is.
Shine through, not knowing what to do, but watch as the stars.
All right, well, I have been doing just an absolute mountain of tiny little fairing jobs outside, tiny little glass jobs, not very scenic, not very pretty, but it's all part of getting projects done, which I am notoriously bad at. And because I'm notoriously bad at it, Melly's been getting the work done in here. We've got primer on everything now.
I primed it all.
Yeah, and then we got paint on some of these. I think I'm just going to do paint on the beams themselves. I'm not going to bother painting the stuff behind the insulation because it's already epoxy coated, then primer coated, so I don't think it's going to rot. I think we're pretty safe there. And
Prime job.
she did a prime job. I'm so tired. All right, good morning. Feeling refreshed, feeling great, feeling like I have a bright and sunny cabin up here, which is really nice. All the paint's in. We are going to jump straight into the sponsored section of today's video, probably the section you guys clicked on the video for in the first place, and that is I will finally have Wi-Fi on the boat thanks to Alpha. Alpha Networks has this Wi-Fi Camp Pro 2. I'm trying to play it cool, you know, like I wasn't already going to buy it. And they agreed to send me not only the Alpha Camp Pro 2, but they also sent me the Pro 2 Mini. So we'll showcase this guy a little bit later because it's a little bit more portable. But right now I want to go for the big boy, and we're going to talk about this Pro 2 setup and why it is your best option, your simplest option, and one of your cheapest options. So this is important. So my goal with this was to go a little bit more complicated than my camper van. Back in the day I had a camper van and I was traveling around. I had just a USB network card plugged into an antenna, and I would run that cable down and inside the van and be able to pick up Wi-Fi's to one device, just to my laptop. I wanted something to connect to a Wi-Fi network that would be connected to everything else here on the boat. So I had to go a little bit more complicated. Originally I was looking at all these other network access device, and I could not for the life of me get the Ubiquiti one working. Problem after problem, kept sending it back for warranty. This thing, simpler and just works, because what it is just an upgrade on the original system I was using in the van. So this looks a lot like the Bullet I was using. This is actually just a Wi-Fi network card. It's a very powerful one, but it is just an external USB Wi-Fi card. That's why the cable that plugs into it is just a USB cable. Not an Ethernet cable. That is controlled by this guy right here. So we have the tube and we have an R36A, and between the two of them you're able to set up a wireless network here on the boat that gets its internet from another Wi-Fi spot out on shore somewhere. So let's go through the setup really quickly. First things first, plugging this stuff in is pretty simple. You get the antenna plugged into the tube, you get the tube plugged into the card, you get the card plugged into a power source, and that's it. Alright, because I just really want to show off how much easier this thing is to set up than my failed attempts with all the other units, I'm going to set this whole thing up just on my phone. So I've connected to the network now. I've typed in the IP address 192.168.36.1 into the web address bar on any browser. First thing you do is it pulls up a login page. Admin is the username, admin is the password. then it'll ask you to change those. So I'm changing my password to Honey is the best ever, the coolest. Oh my god, I can't believe how cool she is. That's not the password. Don't get excited. And it'll ask you to repeat the password. All right, once you're in, you're in. So now the web page you have here on your phone controls everything about the unit. Just to test this thing out, I wanted to set this up here in my hand. I haven't bolted this thing in yet. So once you're logged in, you're able to use this antenna, which has much greater range than your cell phone, to connect to a network onshore, or if you're in a camper, it's at the camper park or a Starbucks down the street or whatever. And then that will broadcast to this device, which will come down to the Alpha Networks card. And as stock setup, it'll just broadcast a Wi-Fi network from this card that you can then connect all your devices to. Voila, internet. So on a very basic level, that's the first initial setup. That's all I'm going to go through for today's video, but I do want to talk a little bit about the specs involved with this. This is a 12-volt unit. It comes with a wall outlet, but it also comes with a 12-volt connector. So if you're in a car, camper van, boat, you got 12-volt battery systems, that's very handy for that. This is the full kit system. So you have the tube U and you have this antenna stick. This is more of their long range setup, and you get some pretty good range out of this. Now, this isn't going to get you Wi-Fi everywhere in the world, okay? This isn't just like a fix-all solution, but in scenarios where the good Wi-Fi is on one side of the bay and the good holdings on another, well, now you get the best of both worlds. You get to be safe and you get to have a good internet connection. So that's a big, huge plus. Also, important thing to remember, if you're using a Wi-Fi stick, just because your receiver is powerful does not mean that the sending unit from the Wi-Fi network that you're connecting to is necessarily powerful. A lot of marinas have powerful ones. A lot of businesses have powerful ones, but residential people like your neighbor who's letting you buy internet off them like I am doesn't necessarily have the nicest Wi-Fi card. So that's something I'll be upgrading so that I get good reception here in the bay. And right now, as it stands, it trickles in where we are anchored right now. Hopefully later tonight I'll move the boat, we'll be anchored somewhere else, and I'll get enough internet for some quality good memes. In the time being, I want to give a huge shout out to Rockland for sending out the unit. Alpha's Wi-Fi Camp Pro 2, a link in the description. Do check them out. It's very affordable, and if you're looking for an even more affordable, lighter weight option, there's the Alpha Camp Pro Mini, which I'll go into detail on a later video. But very similar setup. It's still the same distributor cap. It's just a different Wi-Fi card and antenna setup. So very cool, very exciting. So pumped to have internet. Thank you so much, Rockland. Links are in the description, so thank you so much for watching. Melly and I have just a little bit more. You're gonna do some painting? Do you want to?
Yeah, I also think this looks like a
What do you think it looks like?
lightsaber.
Well, it's not a lightsaber. Don't be careful.
May the G be with you.
It's not. Oh, that's important to note. It is actually only on the 2.4 gigahertz bandwidth, so this is not a 5G card. This is only 2.4 gigahertz. So may the 2.4G be with you. All right. Well, we got a little bit more painting to do, and yeah.
Will you be my baby? Will you be my sugar diamond doll? Throw your arms around me. Catch me if I
All right. So where I'm sitting right now is where the winch will eventually go. So I needed to kind of close this space off. First of all, because this points upwind all the time when I'm on a mooring or on anchor, and the wind just funnels down this hole and cools the whole galley area down. So it really defeats the purpose of having a wood stove. But also, I'm almost done sealing up the boat for the season. And in order to do that, I need to get the last few pieces of glass. We glassed this, we faired this in this episode, but this box needs to be glassed. I need to put a slight angle on it so that the water trickles out, because this box area is separate from the beam. There'll be lots of running space underneath, so And of course, after I get these beams in properly, there's another beam that's supposed to go right through this bulkhead. So originally I was going to leave it out, have the bulkhead do its due diligence only after the beams came in, and I'll probably kick myself in the future when I'm trying to wrestle the beam through little holes. But it's just I'm cold, so I need to get this part done so I can stay warm. Almost there.
Will you be my sugar diamond doll? Throw your arms around me. Catch me if I fall.
It's just 3 now, which is
'Cause I've been
2.
so lonely. I can barely make it through the night.
Whether prey or predator.
Kiss me.
Okay, hold on, love. Already I can tell the difference in here. It's much, much better. I gotta go drop Melly off at the ferry and say goodbye to her. And so I'm gonna wrap up tonight, probably just finishing up. So a little bit more paint, and that's it, that's all. Do check out the link in the description. I'm really happy so far with this Wi-Fi Cam Pro. It's so nice to have Wi-Fi here on the boat. I'm going to increase, like right now, the place I'm trying to reach is pretty far away, and the reception's pretty dodgy, so I'm going to be moving the boat soon, and I'll tell you how that works out and what the actual range is to a very crappy router. I'm using a really, really bad router on shore, so we'll see how that goes out. In the meantime, check out the link in the description. Really consider it if you're looking for a remote Wi-Fi solution, and we'll dip into more of it as I set it up more permanently. Thanks for watching, guys. Good night.